Hello and welcome to our mid-month update. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. See me sitting at my desk. For one, we're going to talk about China and the virus. The impact, not so much yet on the markets, but overall, what's happening and how we're getting this information. Have an old friend, Patrick Freeman, living in China, giving us an exclusive update from the ground in China. It's going to be an interesting interview. Also, of course, going to give a little insight on the charts and directions. So stay tuned, grab that cup of coffee, sit back, let's get started. Hello, this is Michael Loftus for Wealth and Wisdom TV, where education is the key to a successful financial future. First up, don't forget, click show more for additional information and links on today's video. Have several there. Lot going on. Of course, we have our friend Patrick Freeman coming on. His link is below. You'll want to subscribe to him. He's posting daily about what's happening in China. So right now, a little bit different, little different agenda. We're going to go through Patrick's interview. I'm going to show a few charts at the end. Quick insight on what I see, why the market is reacting or not reacting right now. Kind of shocking. But one thing I do want to show real quick is this. This is a website. I have a link below. This gives you an up-to-date information on the coronavirus. All of those that have been infected. This is being recorded Friday morning. We know we had a jump of 15,000. Lots say the numbers are higher than that. Your death toll is going up quite a bit. It's going to show each region. It is really fascinating to see what's going on. Again, we have a link below. So, without taking up too much time, let's get over to our interview with Patrick Freeman, coming from China. This was recorded Wednesday morning, first thing, Wednesday night for him. So I thought that there's no better way to get some insight than to bring somebody in who is in China right now, an American in China, somebody I used to work with. And let me bring in Patrick Freeman. Hello, Patrick. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Michael? It's good to see you. Good to talk to you. Appreciate you having me on your show there. I'm really excited. It's been a long time, brother. Like over 10 years since we met each other.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So Patrick and I worked together on the distribution side of the financial world for the same company for years, different divisions. I did have at the end there some responsibilities on the bank channel, but I think most importantly, as he and I both left the comfy confines of corporate America, we both left and chose different and unique paths. Obviously, we know about my path. It is considered different, even though I'm a boring financial advisor. Patrick went the more dynamic and fun one. So real quick, let's talk about what's going on, what are you doing, and why are you in China?
Well, after 2008 and several layoffs, probably 3 or 4 after that, the one that I experienced at our former employer, I decided to go into the voiceover business. One thing led to another, and the business allowed me actually to generate some royalties that allowed me to start traveling a little bit more. So I traveled to China for about 3 weeks, fell in love with the city, which was Chongqing. This is the city that I visited, and fell in love with the city, the language, the food, the people, and I said, I got to come back. So I went back to the United States. The best way to get a work visa quickly is getting a TEFL certificate, teaching English as a foreign language, and got my work visa, and I've been here about 17, 18 months now teaching. I only teach about 12 to 15 hours a week. I also do voiceover work. I still narrate audiobooks, and I've got a YouTube channel that documents my travels here in China. So
Great.
That's what brought me here.
And we'll make sure, obviously, we'll have a link below on that. And that's I have followed Patrick's career. I've sent him a couple messages congratulating him over the years. And I watched his most recent video and was like, wow. So that's how I reached out and, put together this call. So in the video the other day, I saw you obviously with your mask on. It seemed like a pretty high-tech mask. So when you leave your complex, you're pretty much, you don't have it on inside your home there, but when you go around, everyone's wearing their mask, right? Pretty much.
Yes. It's not required that I have the mask when I'm walking around on the apartment compound property.
Okay.
But when I step outside of it's required that you have it on. Now, I have seen the occasional person not wearing their mask, but 99% of the people outside of the community are definitely wearing their mask. And not only that, and I noticed this yesterday or a couple of days ago, when somebody's coming the opposite direction towards you, normally you just walk right by them. You might be a foot from them, but I'm noticing myself and also the person walking towards me, we're kind of giving each other a wider berth than normal, just because of, thinking, okay, I wonder if they have it. Just in case, I better kind of walk around them. So not only are we wearing masks, but we're, avoiding each other and giving each other a couple of meters space to walk past each other.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things, and just want to get a feel for this, right? So, last week I posted some photos in Shanghai. Again, your videos from this weekend, nobody's out there. It looks like, you have these high rises in ghost towns. And so from my standpoint and what I do every day, the impact of that globally. Obviously China is, so much of our world consumption. Is everything shut down? Like a lot of the major U.S. corporations there, the McDonald's, Starbucks, Nike, Burger King announced yesterday, they've all shut down. Is pretty much everything shut down, or like what's going on economically, if you would?
No, it's shut down. I've never seen a government go to the measure that they have to keep this virus from spreading, and they have shut everything down. The government's not working. I would say the government's not working in their offices. People are working out of their homes via video and through the internet. Schools are shut down. Students aren't going to the private schools, which, as you know, education is really big. After school, they've got school. So, everything is shut down. When you walk out where I'm at, and I had a friend send me some video of where he's at, and he's actually in one of the areas that's really busy. Where you see thousands of people walking around and it's dead. And I've seen pictures from Shenzhen, you name it, Beijing. It is shut down. So, yeah, I think financially it's going to be more than just a hiccup. I've been out of the investment world for so long. You're probably one to better make the call on this, but I will tell you, living here and being on the ground, this country is shut down. There's talk of people going back to work next week. The subways, or at least the light rail systems here in Chongqing, are starting to open back up. But when you walk outside, mom and pop shops, the restaurants, they're closed. There's the occasional convenience store that's open. The grocery stores are open, which I think is a priority. They'd be open. But people aren't doing anything. They're staying home and they're protecting their families and doing what the government is asking them to do so that the virus is not spread. And I'll have to say this. The government I have to give kudos to the government for doing this, but they've directed, not only for themselves, but for corporations, that they pay at least 70% of their salary. Now, if it goes on for an extended period, I guess they could change their mind as far as that directive. But right now, corporations and governments are paying their employees at minimum 70% of their regular salary. My concern actually is for the mom and pop shops. If people aren't going to the restaurants to eat, or if you're a service person, or if you have a plumbing store, hardware store, people, they're closed down. They're not making any money. So
wow.
It'll be interesting to see how the government takes care of these individuals, but overall, corporations and government agencies are paying their people. I mean, as you know, we talked about it earlier, but I teach part time, like 12 to 15 hours a week. I got my paycheck 2 days ago, and which I'm very grateful and thankful for. But you know, it's shut down. It's kind of a long-winded answer, and there's so much I could talk about. I mean, I could talk about this for 2 or 3 hours, but everything is shut down, and it's going to be felt worldwide. To the extent, I'll leave that in your professional plate there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting. First off, so our viewers understand the way that the majority of the corporations work in China is it's half of it's owned, or 51%, by the government. So, you know, that's how they do things there. And, you know, so that is obviously a good thing. But, you know, the impact, you know, we don't know yet. I think we saw it a couple weeks ago in the oil market. We saw it yesterday. They said they're, you know, 26 million barrels less because China consumes so much of oil, and we've seen that market, I dare say, crash, right? The commodity market has gone down because of the import and exports, right? Because you can't get stuff in and out right now. And also, and I'll show some images later, the countries around that work so closely with China, we're seeing it as well. Not seeing it in our stock market here in the U.S., but that's a whole nother circumstance. So, wow, what a great video. Patrick Freeman, link below. I think there's a way to support him and some of his causes. I'll have links below to all of that. Patrick, thank you so much. Please stay safe. Hopefully we can have him on again. So now let's talk about the impact of what is happening here in China. Okay, let's start here with the cycle, something we've been talking about for a while. We've discussed that we are in cycle 4, the United States economy, okay? Just so you know, China is also in cycle 4. Important to know because you have the virus and they're slowing, okay? So that is not good for them at all, all right? We transitioned a couple weeks ago. I'm going to show you a couple things that validate that we are in a slow growth period and in cycle 4. Let's go back here real quick, okay? When we had SARS, what was the impact? Fairly meaningful, but let's know this right now. This is much greater, you saw that website, much greater an issue than SARS. So we don't know the impact. They're talking about 0 to obviously negative GDP this quarter. You heard Patrick say that it is a ghost town, okay? So money's not being spent, productivity, etc. All right, so let's take a look at what are 4 key components. One is the Chinese market, okay? Here you go, the Shanghai Composite. So it's down. It's still in a downtrend, by the way. It's bounced back up. I can't explain why. I'm going to be honest with you. It shocks me for somebody who looks at this market all the time. We will talk about that in our wrap-up. The other thing you hear about is Dr. Copper and Kospi, right? Or Dr. Kospi and Copper? I don't know. Anyways, copper, real important to the Chinese economy. Why? Because they're constantly building and they use a ton of copper. You can see the downtrend there. Soybeans, why do I bring that up? Because of the big deal we had with China, the no deal. It was about soybeans, nothing. And then you look around, you see South Korea. Yeah, it's coming up a little bit, but still in a downtrend, okay? So let's look at the emerging markets, which is around, okay, all of, let me slide this down a little bit, okay, the emerging markets, okay? Big shot down here, okay, and then it's come back up. Kind of understandable, maybe not. There are some countries that are doing okay. But let me tell you, China is, right, we said, 14% of the world GDP. It's going to affect everybody in the emerging markets, so we have to be mindful of that. So now let's look at the U.S. markets. What's happening right now in the U.S. markets? Could you find a better looking chart? I mean, no matter what's going on, this continues to go up. It shocks me. I'm not going to lie to you. But what do I see here in particular? Okay, well, first off, We've talked about negative divergence, right? This is relative strength, right? We're not seeing the same numbers when we were here, and look how much higher we are. This is a true breakout on momentum, but we have a huge divergence from the 12-month moving average. In fact, one of the largest, okay, since our last crash. That is concerning to me. So why? Why is this happening? Why are we seeing these markets going up? The Fed, okay? They continue to pump money into the system. I'll have a link to previous videos. We always talk about that. The Fed is keeping this puppy going. That's the bottom line. When you look at China, they put $168 billion in a week ago. That's the PBOC, okay? So they're doing the same thing. Everybody's trying to keep this liquidity. As a reminder, not the Fed's job. Their job is monetary policy. So let me show you real quick why we are in the fourth cycle. Signs. Sign number one, US dollar. Okay? You see the peak in October, it went down. So when we were in that cycle, we were in asset classes that did well. We sold. Now you see the dollar surging, which is a sign of the fourth cycle. Okay? You look at the commodities index, right? In October, shot up. There's your, you can see it as clear as day, and then it shot down. So the commodities index, the commodities space, where we took advantage of some areas there, has obviously gone down. So there's your number two confirmation. Number three, the Treasury. We peaked in growth, okay, in October of 18. You see the Treasury going straight down. You go sideways in cycle 3, and then you go down again in the fourth cycle. All of this has been a combination of, okay, the slowdown, earnings have not been good, and the bond market and all these other things are reacting to what's happening in China. So you have to be mindful of all of this right now. So to wrap things up, again, thank you to Patrick Freeman. Links below. Help him out in any way you can. Subscribe to his channel. But right now, where are we? We are positive. All signals are positive despite what's going on in China. But we are nimble, okay? We've got quite a bit of our assets in cycle 4 asset classes, the bond and bond proxies that continue to do really well and surge. That's another signal, right? If you look at utilities and consumer staples, and I could go on, they all continue to perform well, which is a cycle 4 indicator. As always, thanks so much for watching. Michael Loftus, Wealth and Wisdom TV.